Hello and welcome to a special edition of What's New with K9sAlpha. Today is a special day for me, so I figured why not do a screencast and show you guys some of the features coming up with the RC2 release of K9sAlpha. So let's take a look. All right, so in this release, we kind of revamped a little bit the pulses view which was available in K9s and added a few more features to it. So in this case, we get to see for a particular namespace, in this case, a namespace called ICX, which is the namespace for my world famous icon of Flix application, some of the critical resources relating to that namespace. So paths, deployment, replica sets, and so forth. The bottom of the view highlights the consumption for that particular namespace for both CPU and memory, and show you the high and the lows. Right now, the workload is down, so 15 milli-cores consumption, topped out at 36 milli-core, and about 59% currently in memory that peaked at 290 meg RAM. Right, so that's cool. That view is live in a good old K9's tradition. So if I ramped this application back up, we're going to see those counts, going back up for each of the affiliated resources within this namespace. Okay, so in this view, you can navigate using arrow keys, up, down, left, right, tab, and back tab. And for each of the resources here, I can, select the gauge, and then it'll kick me into the table view for the affiliated resource, right? So, pretty much very much in a K9's tradition, keeping stuff up here. Now, if you notice on this gauge, I have 8 pods up. One of them is not happy. So I've got 8 happy, one of them is not happy. So let's take a look. We can see here 8 resources and a red highlight here. So in the old days, we used to do Control W here to go wide, column wise, and then you can go through, the columns here and see the validation columns or something being toast. So kind of change that a little bit. There's a new command here, I for info. And I, in essence, will show me some of the, traits, of that resource in terms of labels and annotation. In truth, I'm still working through it, trying to figure out, what other information would be useful here. But one of the highlight is the pod conditions, right? So what condition is this guy in? Is it happy or not happy? And in this case, it is not happy. Some of the containers here are not in a good state, right? So again, if I press enter here to go to the container view. This is an Istio-based cluster, so we got init containers and sidecars, and the main container here is in trouble, right? So again, this I view, info view, relates to any table views you use, in K9sAlpha. So you can always press that key to see more detail about that particular resource. Okay, so likewise here, let me back up here. You can tab over to change the focus, because sometimes you may need to scroll to see an annotation or a label here. Again, back tab to navigate back to the main view, and then you can scroll around and update accordingly. All right, so this is one way to do this. Another way, of course, you can do this is using Control Z. That basically allows you to zoom directly to that resource and then view, the related information. So Control Z, basically isolated all the resources that are currently not happy, and basically allows you to do a quick navigation onto those. Okay, so if I go back now, you can see the graph sustained. So we are, I think, recording about 2 hours worth of metrics there, gathered every minute. This view is eventually consistent, so hang out a little bit. It's not instant in terms of, when you first come up. It'll take about a minute for it to update and get all those counts gathered for you. So be patient here. So this is cool, I think, but also, what would be better is what if I could actually look at a whole cluster, right? So you can use, again, PU is the short name here. PUR or pulses all here. This now is a little bit of a different view that allows me to see the resources as we saw earlier, but as well cluster-wide resources, right? Things like nodes and namespace and CRDs and so forth, right? Again, now those counts are gathered at the cluster level. So if you walk into a cluster you're not very familiar with and you want to get a quick pulse of what is going on, you can kick in that view and see the overall 10,000 foot view of what's going on in the cluster, and allows you to now zoom in and address some of those issues. So again, same exact mechanic here. Let's go look at services, for example. There's 3 services here that are seemingly in trouble. Control Z to isolate, I to basically gather info, and you notice here actually for each 3 of those services, the service selector doesn't match any paths that are currently on the cluster. So either those services are duds and they should not be around, or there's indeed an issue with the workload that is supposed to represent, right? So again, you get that information right here available to you. Now, lastly, on this view, you notice also at the bottom, now those are metrics gathered at the cluster level. So these are cluster-wide resources. You can see that because they closely match, those top percentages here that shows you cluster-wide resources. But now you also see the detail, again, over time, gathering about 2 hours worth of information here for both what the CPU and memory has done. Yes, it is not Grafana, sadly, but it gives you a little bit more insight at the K9s level to figure out what's happening resource-wise within your cluster, which I think is a very useful thing for most cluster administrators. Okay, well, that's pretty much all I had for you. I hope you find this useful. I want to thank you all for listening and also for supporting both K9s and K9sAlpha. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye.